What's going on? Welcome back to another brand new episode of Skywalking Through the League. I am your host, Bill Sheehy, and I'm joined, as always, by my Jedi partner in crime, Trey Mitchell. Trey, how you doing today, bud? Are you there? There's his beautiful face. How you doing
I traveled the multiverse to be here today.
You did. I'm glad that you're here with us. It's good to be back.
Rocking the Star Wars Celebration 2022 shirt.
Man, it's coming up. We're 2 weeks away. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm very excited for our room to be party central at Celebration and to sing karaoke and get a little tipsy with together. So happy to be joined by Trey once again, and we're joined by two special guests today. Let's start with my family. Annie Sheehy. She is the Scarlet Witch herself, I think is what we're calling you now. Is that right?
I guess.
I've heard that.
Sure, why not?
People are saying that you're the Scarlet Witch. Can you confirm that?
Sure, let's go ahead and confirm that because
Okay,
I am crazy and full of righteous rage.
Okay, awesome. Happy to hear it. And speaking of righteous rage, our good friend, Reagan. Regaba, are you there? Where is she?
I am here.
Captain
Hi.
Carbonara herself.
Righteous Reagan. Hi, what's going on?
You doing okay?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. There, she's right there. There's so many waifus. Too many waifus here. People are saying. So this is a little different. We are not talking Star Wars today. That'll come later, maybe next week. But today, because when we did our Spider-Man episode in January or whenever that movie came out, my sister has been nagging me mercilessly every week, every weekend, basically. Hey, when Multiverse of Madness comes out, you've got to do an episode and you got to bring me on. So, Multiverse of Madness came out. I'm happy to be the stepbrother. Oh, that's just don't go near the washing machine if you know what I'm saying. Anyway. So we are doing a special episode on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If you've been paying attention to our Twitter today, we've had several guests cancel at the last minute. Harry Styles canceled. He's, Harry Styles doing what he can. I understand. I totally understand. And then, when he canceled, initially, I was just thinking, you know what? I'm just going to keep the guest list as it was. Nothing.
Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate.
Clever, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And then the spirit of Jeremy Renner came to me in a dream and said he would come on. And then he didn't come on. But believe it or not, Annie and I have had this running joke for the past 2 years. Whenever there is I follow the actor Billy Zane on Instagram. And Billy Zane, of course, known for exactly Kingdom Hearts, the voice of Ansem, just posts just the most wonderful stuff on Instagram. And every time he posts something, I message it to Annie and say, all these Zaniacs out here having a good time. And so Billy Zane is going to be joining us. I texted him on Instagram, and he said he'd come on. He wasn't sure at what time he was going to come on, but he said he would come on probably when we're near the end, maybe towards the middle. I'll keep you guys posted. But he's been messaging me for the past 3 hours about him coming on. So look forward to Billy Zane coming on. And we might actually have another special guest too. Is Jess going to come on at some point? Your girlfriend from the Schmodown? Okay, cool. Jess will join us. But before we get into our guests or we get into Doctor Strange, as a band in Lexington said on last weekend, a show that I went to, there's some pretty fucked up shit going on right now, guys. And obviously, with the Supreme Court decision that leaked that we're going to probably see the end of Roe v. Wade which gives essential health care to women all across the country. It's a constitutional right until now. I wanted to talk about and give it to the women in this Illuminati, as we're calling it, um, and talk about it a little bit and give you guys some resources. So Ray, Annie, have at it. Reagan, go ahead.
I first want to talk about if it's very important that you understand how much this issue bisects everyone. If you're a man out there and you think it doesn't affect you, please remember that Roe v. Wade was essentially a decision about your right to privacy, fundamental medical privacy, but it's a little more overarching than that. So, that can easily mean that your medical history, your prescription history, no longer private. If you are taking medication for your mental health, that could potentially give an employer free rein to look at what you've been taking. And even though that might not allow them to legally use that as a reason to not hire you, we know what happens. Roe was cited in the Supreme Court decisions that legalized gay marriage.
That's everything's on the table right now.
Everything is on the table right now.
That's what's so scary. But can keep going.
It's a really critical moment, and I know that a lot of people feel right now that maybe a lot of particularly women, particularly I'll even say it, like white women like myself, have not spoken up or been particularly active until this decision affected them directly. And there may be truth to that, but this decision affects everyone. Abortion is essential healthcare for so many people. 1 in 7 pregnancies is not viable. Like, I think 50% of pregnancies have complications worldwide, and of that I think another 20 to 20% cannot come to term without medical intervention to save the child. Pregnancy inherently is dangerous. Pregnancy inherently is incredibly hard on the body and can often compromise the life of the mother. And most of the trigger bills that are being presented and now out of committee in many states, like Louisiana, like Kentucky, like Missouri, they do not make exceptions for cases of rape or incest. They do not make exceptions for any case in which the life of the mother is compromised. And ectopic pregnancy, no exception for that. It is not a viable pregnancy. That fetus will continue to grow and ultimately rupture a fallopian tube. You can die of sepsis. There's a famous case, I believe, out of Ireland, where a 31-year-old dentist died of sepsis from a non-viable pregnancy that died inside of her, and there was nothing they could do because abortion was not legal at the time. This is a much more complicated case than just abortion itself. It is a case that decides whether or not the life of a woman is as important as the life of a fetus, and that's not a debate that we should be having. But in any case, if you're out there, if you need help, there are resources. We can pop the number later, like the miscarriage and abortion hotline, reprolegalhelp.org. But more importantly, I know that in the midterms last time we had the second, I think, highest new voter turnout in history. We need that more than ever right now, because basically, there has been, for the last 25 years, a very slow creep towards authoritarianism in this country. If we allow this Congress to flip in November, there's a very strong chance it never flips back again. And that's not me being conspiratorial. People have been architects of that for decades now. And we know that voting rights have been gutted all over the place. Trey, in Florida, where you live, they just basically used people who were elected in gerrymandered districts to effectively overturn legislation that restored the right of felons to vote. They basically amended that bill to say that the felons had to pay all of their court fees, all of their remaining parole fees and everything, which is amounts into thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, which effectively means that they no longer have the right to vote. We're seeing this all over the place. If you do not live in a state that is pretty much guaranteed to go blue anyway, vote anyway, but get people registered, canvass, research your local elections. There are tons of, I pulled up a bunch of links. There's youthvotermovement.org. They have links and resources to every local election. You can read and research about your candidates. Like if you're not sure, I would say vote blue down the line. That's probably the safest thing to do, but you should always be informed and educated. There is Rock the Vote, which is, I mean, it's been around since the dawn of time and it's corny, but they do have a lot of resources. If you live in New York City, the New York Public Library, every single branch of the New York Public Library has resources, has voter registration forms, has a lot of information, pamphlets, everything that you can read. You can also use, if you don't have internet access, you can also use computers at the New York Public Library to register, to research information. And there is the campusvoterproject.org, which is available and will come in person, I believe, to several college campuses, but they usually set up booths. They can get you registered on site. But it is more important now, even if you've been on the fence, even if you're the type of person that feels like my elected officials don't represent me, there's no point. It doesn't matter. It matters now more than it ever has. You need to get out. You need to get registered. You need to canvass. You need to inform other people. You need to encourage your friends and your family members who are apathetic or not registered. Get them involved. I understand that it's hard and we're all a little bit beaten down because we feel like nobody cares about us. But the only way to change that is to speak up, to vote, to use your privilege while you still have it, and make your voice heard.
And here's the thing: we got apathetic once, and Trump got 3 Supreme Court justices, and because of that, we are having to deal with this now. Because of our apathy, we are dealing with this now. This is important, and I know people will say, "Bill, this is a Star Wars podcast. This is a MCU, whatever. This is what kind of podcast we want it to be. Why bring this up? Because this is important." This will directly affect people's lives on a daily basis. And it will obviously affect people that look like me, but the people that will be affected by this the most are the people of color and the poorest people in the country. And that is why it's important. If it affects those people the most, there's something wrong with it. I'm sorry.
And inherently, it is not a pro-life movement. It is basically a pro-using poor people as incubators for labor movement, and it's sick.
And it is. This is an extremist court. This is an extremist view. It is a 70% issue where people are for some form of access to abortion. So this is important. And I think it's incredibly important that we highlight it. I think it's incredibly important that we give resources to people that need it. So that's why we bring it up. And I thank you, Ray, for talking and speaking so eloquently and passionately about it, because this is it. Like, this is the future. If this doesn't happen, if I can quote Rogue One, what choice do we have? What chance do we? Wait, hold on. What is it? Sorry. God, I feel like George W. Well, it's what chance do we have? What choice do we have? The time to fight is now. And I'm sorry that I butchered that line, but it is what it is. But I think it's really, really important. And we'll include links to all the different numbers that Ray talked about in the show description.
I'll tweet them out. Also, maybe we can tweet them from the official Skywalking Twitter.
Absolutely. And so now that we've talked about that, it's important to talk about. Let's talk about the reason for the show today, the Multiverse of Madness. When it was initially announced that we were getting a Doctor Strange 2, I liked the first Doctor Strange, but I wasn't really excited until they released the name and said what it was going to be about. I got excited. It is, as more and more things in Phase 4 started coming out, I don't know about you guys. I got more and more excited because with No Way Home and Loki and all these other shows, we kind of got a little bit of a view into the multiverse. So I guess I want to start with how I usually start with when we review things, our overall impressions, what we thought, what were our first thoughts when we caught out of the theater. And Annie, since we're doing this because you begged and asked me
Calm
to do
down.
it, I'm calm. What did you think about Multiverse of Madness when you walked out?
I had a very complex and just a journey from beginning to end. I do want to say that I have projected so hard onto Wanda Maximoff that any of what the second that she started doing anything that wasn't nice, I was pissed.
Uh-huh.
I was just, but I would never say that this wasn't a good movie because this was a great movie. I was just stressed the entire time.
I understand.
So,
I got you.
yeah.
Trey, what do you think? What were your initial thoughts when you walked out of the theater?
So I like the first Doctor Strange movie a lot.
Mhm.
I was actually holding up my letterbox to see where I ranked. I think it was like 12th or something for me. So I already liked this character, and I liked, the kind of like trippy stuff that he does.
Mhm.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, I have Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness at 11, and Doctor Strange 2, and Doctor Strange at 12. So I like both movies a lot. Big Sam Raimi fan. I haven't seen a lot of his horror stuff, but I think people our age really grew up with his Spider-Man movies. They're quintessential. Like, I found a old project I did when I was in kindergarten, and it said, like, I want to be like Spider-Man. I don't want to be like Green Goblin. And I was 5 years old at that point. So Sam Raimi's been like affecting me for essentially my whole life. So I was pretty excited when I found out that he was doing this movie. But I liked it. I liked WandaVision. I wouldn't say I loved WandaVision, but none of that was like because I didn't like Wanda or I didn't like her arc. I was very interested in her arc, and it continued in this. And I think we'll probably get into more of that and whether her arc worked, didn't work, if it, that's been a lot of hoopla on Twitter recently. But no, I thought it was great.
Absolutely.
And then also, I kind of got spoiled on Twitter about like certain cameos and stuff. And I think for this movie in particular, there was a lot of talk beforehand that like people were saying, oh, if you thought No Way Home had a lot of cameos, wait till Doctor Strange. And I feel like the expectations for that were really high, but because I saw on Twitter beforehand what it was, I actually went into it like not expecting too much. And I feel like that actually helped me not be disappointed in it.
Ray, what do you think? Go off that and then talk about your initial reaction to the movie.
Well, I don't know why I did this, but like I managed to I curved just about basically since WandaVision ended and like people had a lot of speculation post credit scene. And also people were very disappointed that Benedict Cumberbatch hadn't shown up at the end of WandaVision, which I think he was supposed to, but couldn't because of COVID. I kind of decided that I was going to actively try to curve anything that was going to spoil this movie for me, because like No Way Home had been leaking for so long. Hi Jess. And I No Way Home was not ruined for me by all of the leaks, but it definitely was a different experience because of them. So I avoided everything. So when the cameos happened in this movie, I squealed like an infant. I was so excited. I was so happy. And I get a feeling that this movie ended up being bigger than it was originally meant to be, because they wanted to really, as the MCU and not as Spider-Man movie, they wanted to come back big as people were in theaters again. I think they very much succeeded in that front. I super enjoyed it. It was super entertaining, super emotional. It was just disjointed at parts, and even though the action was fantastic, the screenwriting sometimes was all over the place. But it's a minor complaint because overall it was a really entertaining movie.
Awesome. And Jess, we were kind of talking about what our initial reactions to Multiverse of Madness when we first walked out of the theater. So what were your initial reactions to Multiverse of Madness when you walked out?
Yeah, I really liked it a lot walking out of it. The like directorial vision was there. Like I felt the Sam Raimi presence very strongly. But so I enjoyed that part of it. And it was a fun. I also didn't have I think your expectations going into it kind of changed how you viewed the movie. And like I didn't really have a lot of high expectations. I didn't know about any of the cameos. Like I made sure he didn't spoil anything for me. Like he's like, oh, there were leaks, and I was like, I don't want to know. Like I don't. So like everything, like I saw the trailer, so I knew the Professor X, but I didn't really know anything else about who would be in it and what. I didn't even know like Wanda was going to be the villain of the movie. Like I really did not know much about. So like the reveal of the scene, like when Doctor Strange was talking to her, like that surprised me. I didn't know that was going to happen. So yeah, I had a good time. Like the more I thought about it, the more like things I start to. So it's like coming straight out of it. First impressions, I really enjoyed it, but over time, I started to like notice things that were different, like odd. I was like, that was an interesting choice, but I still liked it.
I got you. You know, going off your point of feeling the Raiminess of it all, if you will. I think that if anyone ever says to me that like Marvel doesn't let directors do what they want to do and like bring their like what they're good at to movies and it's just cookie cutter, I'm gonna tell you to shut up, because like this is a Sam Raimi movie through and through, and like it's like you said, you could feel his vision throughout. I don't know why when I walked out, like I really, really enjoyed this movie. But like it kind of, the more and more I thought about it, I kind of realized how brutal it is. Cause like it just, there were things in this, like we'll talk about the Illuminati here in a little bit, but like some of the things that happen in the movie, it's like, oh, this is a Marvel movie. Like, and like it felt really, really brutal. Some of the deaths that you see here. But you know, overall, I when Stephen Strange was first introduced into the MCU, like he obviously like arrogant, you know, I feel like his journey, like from Doctor Strange to Infinity War to Endgame to now, and even in No Way Home, like I think that like he's growing a heart. Like I feel like he has a lot more heart than he did at the beginning, and I think like you see, like you seeing his journey from where he was at the beginning to where he is now, and hopefully where he'll go eventually. I like seeing that because I'm a sap to my core, and like seeing somebody who ultimately is able to change the multiverse because he did something kinder that no other version of Doctor Strange would do and has done in the multiverse, I think was really, really cool. And you know, speaking of, you know, the Raiminess of it all, did you like that? Like, I know that, have you seen a lot of Raimi movies? Because I think the only ones that I've really seen, I've seen all the Spider-Man movies, his original trilogy, and then a little bit of the new Evil Dead, and I think he was an executive producer on that. So, did you enjoy his vision? And were there parts of what he did that didn't work for you?
I mean, I know enough about the language, like his directorial language, to know that it was him, but I haven't watched enough of his stuff to like really have an opinion on it. I do think that, I mean, you have to like just be okay with like the premise or like with his style from the get-go. There really isn't a whole lot of time for you to get used to what he's doing, because like almost instantly Wanda has that thing where she comes out of a fucking mirror, like and she's like twisting and all that sort
Yep.
of stuff. So it was kind of really jarring as a MCU fan, like who's not used to like, I guess the most out of the box director that they had at this point was like Taika, and that was just because of his humor. So like you just really have to be okay with the journey that they're about to take you on the second that you get into the movie. So yeah, I was there for it. I was fine with it. Yeah. What was the rest of your question?
That's it, if you were okay with the Raiminess of it all.
Oh yeah, it was fine.
Okay. Ray. Go ahead, Trey.
I'm just pissed that there wasn't enough Morbius in it. I was really looking forward to
Morbius
that
sweet.
cameo.
Morbius
Yeah.
sweet.
Marvel legend Morbius.
That's right. So I know this is off on a tangent. Who saw Morbius? Ray, say yes.
didn't.
I've seen Morbius. Trey, did you see
Why?
Morbius?
I was like the biggest No Way Home person that most of you knew, and Morbius was handled so poorly that I didn't even see.
You
that.
just saw it.
Like
You didn't see it on principle.
I didn't even see it.
I saw it, and apparently
Scotty loved it.
I like, it's fun. Like Matt Smith, like every time I mention Matt Smith, like I give it another point. So we're at a 7 out of 10 now.
So we're at 1 point.
No, we're at a 7 out of 10 for the Morbius sweep. But apparently, like they changed the dialogue in the post-credit scene in that.
They
and,
removed the name Spider-Man in it.
That's
yeah.
which is so weird. I don't know. That's Alex
Funny
is
how
right.
you
Hey,
know so
Doc.
much about it.
Because I'm on Reddit way too much.
But yeah, anyway, Trey, where were we? Ray, what did you think of the Raiminess of it all?
Trey Ray. Yeah.
I mean, definitely from the first second that you're sitting down, like if you're familiar with his work, it is, I mean, I said this on TikTok, but it is a Sam Raimi movie from the first minute. And I thought like for him, he toned down his camp somewhat, but it was still very much present. But there were like Easter eggs, like all over the movie, even down to like the original poster for the first Evil Dead, like the way that Zombie Strange's hand comes up from the rubble. But I think that he was also, because I think he's one of the, if not the most previously established directors to direct an MCU film, I believe, to date. I think he had a lot more free reign than most other directors were given, and it benefited him a lot, because the biggest compliment I think that I can give this movie is that I didn't really, except in some moments, get a sense that it was directed by committee and that choices were made primarily to sell things, which is kind of one of my recurring complaints with a lot of the MCU movies. And even though like they were introducing a franchise with America Chavez in it, you don't even feel punched in the face by that. Like he managed to like bring together all of those elements in a way that were just so entertaining that you weren't bothered by any of that.
I
Trey,
think
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
kind of what Reagan said. Like, I think one of the weaknesses for me in No Way Home was like the lack of John Watts. Like, I didn't see, like, I couldn't tell that was like a movie directed by John Watts. You know, where like with Multiverse of Madness, I can tell that this was a movie directed by Sam Raimi, and I like that, like auteur stuff with the MCU, where it's not like, because I think a lot of people have problems with the MCU in that it's like a factory line. Like we get like 4 of these movies a year. They have such similar structures, and like, I don't know, you could just say one person directed them all, Kevin Feige. So I think it's cool when like someone is able to like put their touch on a movie like this. And if they make a third one, which I hope they do, I would really like Sam to come back for a third one.
Totally agree. And like, there are things that happen in this movie that because it's a Sam Raimi movie, it works for me. Like the entirety of like that musical note thing, and like where they do
that was sick.
Where they did like, there was just random guitar riffs like in different places and organs every now and then. I thought like if anybody else had tried to do that, I would have said, nah, it doesn't work. But like Raimi knows how to do it, and it just felt right to me. Jess, what do you think?
Just in that scene too, like Danny Elfman's score, like aligning with what was happening in the scene. It's like amazing.
Absolutely.
Sam Raimi, Danny Elfman collabs.
That's God, and like I know we're gonna get into like the Elfman score a little bit later because there are moments in that score that I've told y'all I got giddy. Like there's like beats from other prominent Marvel themes where I was like, oh yes, absolutely. I kind of want to get into how Wanda was dealt with in this because like when I walked out of the movie, I understood her like why they did what they did with her. And like when you look back at like the end of WandaVision, they were so clearly setting up her turn in this. But like I guess I don't know what it was initially. Like I was kind of surprised at how like quickly they were like, yep, she's the freaking villain of this movie. Because like I thought that the villain that was going to be, I thought Wanda was going to be ultimately be the villain, but I thought that it was going to be much further down the line, like a different variant of
Or
Wanda
there would be
was
like a
gonna be
fake
villain.
out villain like they always do.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So Annie, I want to go to you because I know this is your bread and butter. This is why you Wanda is your character. You project yourself onto Wanda.
Yes.
How do you feel with how she was handled as a whole? And if I'm assuming there were things that you didn't like, what would you do differently if you could?
Well, just in general, I would have made the movie 30 minutes longer. Like, Jamie, that's not supposed to be funny. Like, it felt like Wanda wouldn't have screwed up that quickly. Like, she let Steven know. Like, she messed up so fast that, like, she went, America. Okay. At that moment, I was like, oh, she's the one that's after her. Like, it didn't make sense. I just wanted a little bit more movie, and I wanted a moment, like a fake out villain, but not necessarily a fake out character, but Wanda could have done the fake out. Like, they could have gone to the orchard and then had a moment where, like, she screws up later. It just was really fast. And I feel like I've said this to whoever will listen to me. I wish that we had gotten to see more than just that end credit scene at the end of WandaVision of her actually being fully corrupted by the Darkhold, because it felt like we just had to accept that she read this very evil text and now she's the worst. And again, I've gone on my journey with it because when I walked out of the theater, I was a little pissed because at the end of WandaVision, I was like, oh, she's going to be the villain of Multiverse of Madness, and I didn't want that because I just, for whatever reason. But like as I've reflected more and more, I'm not as mad with it or at it, and it makes absolute and total sense because I would be that crazy and rageful if I had lost everything.
I've seen you in a Wanda-like rage, so
the timeline's also kind of confusing, like because I think like has it been years? Because does WandaVision happen like right after, like a couple weeks after Endgame, but then this movie is supposed to happen after No Way Home, which is supposed to be a few years out. Like, so I guess it's been years since WandaVision.
Maybe,
maybe,
but it's
probably
still
like
confusing. Because I was listening to a podcast and it broke it down, but I don't remember the exact numbers. But I guess it's been years since she's been alone with no one to check in on her.
Right? What do you think? Do you think that we didn't spend enough time with her becoming the Scarlet Witch? Do you?
I mean, I definitely think, and I would almost even say that my audience seemed to react in a way that, like, that snap of the fingers from her, like cutting flowers from a tree to everything going dark. It was. I also think it was way too early in the movie. Like, it just, it's kind of like the Palpatine reveal in Rise of Skywalker. It was a little bit of a non-event. Like, it should have just it would have been a little more delicious if we had time to build up to it. But maybe I think part of that was because her turn was so like human and personal and not campy and not super villainish that maybe to make it this big delicious like gotcha reveal would have undermined her storyline. Like I'm juggling that as well. But I think that you know, I really liked the way that WandaVision kind of showed in a very allegorical way a person not really dealing with trauma and kind of like, you know, what a super being's body trying to deal with trauma would look like. And I think that's kind of, that is very much where we see her. We, you know, I think it's confusing because at the end of WandaVision, it's very easy to think she's just meditating with a book, trying to find her children. But she's also sitting with a lot of grief and pain that has had a lot of time to marinate and really no outlet to start to heal and get better. So, you know, it's not unreasonable that alone, with no resources, with nothing but the echo of her own mind, she is gonna go a little off the wall. But also, you know, if you know Wanda Maximoff from the comics, this is very standard issue Wanda Maximoff. Like this is kind of
her dad's Magneto.
Yeah.
Charles.
That guy's never. He's always good and bad at the same time.
He is. And, you know, I think it's interesting you bring up Palpatine and Rise of Skywalker because for me, very similar to like how like immediately where I'm like, okay, they're like Palpatine's back and there's no explanation other than that. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like that was kind of my reaction to Wanda was like, okay, she's evil. I'm in. But like at the same time, for me, it felt like at the end of the day, she was doing it because she wanted to be with her kids. Like,
well, that's the key thing. I don't think you're ever supposed to see her as evil. She is the villain of the story. She is not ever really evil. She's just someone
who was corrupted.
She's corrupted and rent in half by her pain.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what is she? She's the victim. She's the victim of the Darkhold. She's the victim of her own grief. She's the victim of all the circumstances in her life. And that's like, the story of Wanda Maximoff in the MCU is just a story of loss. She lost her brother. She lost her. Well, she's lost her parents first. Then she lost her brother. Then she lost the only love of her life. Then she lost the kids that she made. Like it's just a story of loss. Like, how could you not just be completely shattered? So, like, do you have like? Would I ruin the multiverse and like turn people into spaghetti because of I wanted to see my kids again? Probably not, but I would understand why somebody would be pushed to that breaking point.
But you know, you can almost also argue that after the blip and the snap, that like mentally not everybody probably was in the same place with the value of everybody else's life. You know, and I think a lot of her her motivation is that like she's lost everything and sacrificed so much to bring back so much for so many other people, and there's just nothing there for her. And one little thing that I liked, one little kind of like nuance in the filmmaking, is that there is never, if you notice, they never light her eyes at all unless she is seeing her children or it is a version of her that is with her children, which I thought was like, it was just a really nice little touch, because I think they wanted to, that was a way of expressing that her darkness was not total, but it only had brief moments of breaking, you know.
Trey, what did you go ahead?
I almost saw her as like an Anakin kind of like character where it's like you know that they're a good person because you've seen them be a good person, but like their fear, like I guess okay, Anakin's turn is because he wants to like control everything because he didn't have control when he was a kid because he was a slave. So like he wants to control Padme and he wants to control the council. And then with Wanda, it's like she's lost everything, so she just wants something back. Because like if she was able to save Pietro, you know, maybe she would do that. If she was able to go back in time and save Vision, she would probably do that. But she can't. So she has this possibility to go back and save her kids. So that's like the one thing that she can do. So like Reagan said, like she's not the villain. She's not a villain. She's just the villain of this movie. But we don't think that she's like a bad person.
I but at the end of the day, what I think makes Wanda as the antagonist, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Who saves Wanda at the end of the day?
Wanda.
Wanda and her kids. Like that's it. So like it works. So I can understand why some people would write articles about how why it was not done well, but like at the same time maybe like
Yeah.
Maybe understand art a little more. I guess I don't know.
This movie didn't give me depression. I'll say that.
That's true. I don't have
Already had it.
I don't have mom depression, if you will. That's a different
do.
thing.
Great. I gotta go.
I do struggle with like the motivations of why she was like the more we're talking about it, the more I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't as like odd as I feel, but like that it was just a male screenwriter, and then it's like her drive is to be like it's like motherhood, but like male characters in the MCU, fatherhood is like a heroic trait, but like her to be, it's like I want to be a mother and I'll do anything for my kids, so I'll murder people to be with my kids instead of like it being, because I think about like the scene with Black Widow and like I think it was Age of Ultron or something, her comment of like, you're not the only monster, because she can't have children. Like their history has been kind of spotty with that.
And like what did Tony Stark do at the end of the day to save the day? He murdered people. He murdered people to save his kid.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like that's, if you want to boil it down to that, you can. So like I think that when Wanda tells Steven like, hey, when you break the rules, like you're the hero, you're this heroic person. When I do it, I'm the villain. I think that's right. It's just once again, I understand. Go ahead.
What did you all think of Loki? Now that we're talking about Michael Waldron, because that's like a top 5 MCU project for me. So I'm curious what you all think. Reagan,
Annie, what do you
thoughts? Or Annie?
Reagan, go.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I really liked it. My maybe only complaint is that they didn't really manage to weave like what I thought the multiverse in Loki, like I thought that that's what was happening at the end of it, and I thought they have not managed to weave that in quite as seamlessly as I thought that they would. But I thought it was really interesting, and a big complaint with Loki is that we thought it was going to be this big action show, which it still was, but it was mostly like character driven and walking and talking. But I also really liked the fact that that they could do that and still make it really compelling, and kind of make it actor driven and use somebody's talents to really drive the show rather than a lot of like CGI spectacle, which again there still was. But I thought it was really good, and I think this phase of the MCU is, the first phase was all about building up the mythos of these superheroes, and I think now we are kind of deconstructing them and humanizing them as much as possible, which I'm very into.
Looking at it now, like I appreciate Loki for what it is. I think it has one of the most inspired villain reveals at the end with Kang the Conqueror. I think Jonathan Majors as Kang is going to kick so much ass. Like it's just like he's not even the villain yet, like fully the villain yet. And like you're like, oh, this guy's gonna fuck everything up. So like I appreciate it for that, and I appreciate it for like how it kind of sets the stage for so we can get No Way Home, and it sets the multiverse. I will be interested to see how it'll affect movies that aren't directly related to the multiverse. Like Thor, Black Panther, stuff like that. So like. I appreciate it for what it is, but like it's and how it set things up, but it's not really one of my favorite things. But I think it set up a lot of important stuff for this movie and for the multiverse as a whole.
What
So
you think of Loki?
I think I liked Loki. I think Moon Knight ended up being my favorite, even though there's a weird trend for me that the finales of all these shows have, like, I guess Loki's finale is the strongest to me, but like
Yeah.
all the finales kind of, it's like the what's that word? Penultimate episodes are always the best ones of the seasons. So you get so excited, and then you're like, but they have so many other things they resolve at the end, and then it never like it feels.
and like, how is Moon Knight gonna factor into this? I think that's another good question.
Well,
like
and it's weird because like
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac was like, I actually only signed on for this. I don't know if I'm gonna be this character again, which is like a super weird MCU thing.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. Just going back to Loki, like that. This might be a little hyperbolic considering we're a Star Wars podcast, but like Loki was like my MCU's Last Jedi. I feel like similar to Loki the way I feel about The Last Jedi. Like I think that show's like perfect, and it's the only show to me that the only Phase 4 MCU show to me that had an ending that I was like 10 out of 10. That I was not disappointed. Moon Knight's ending, I wasn't disappointed, but I thought it was fine. WandaVision's ending, I was definitely I liked it at first, and then I was like, actually, I was disappointed by that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale was probably the best episode in my opinion. So I guess I wasn't disappointed, but it came quickly, I guess. And then What If was kind of bad. So I think that's all.
I got you. And you know, I kind of want to.
Oh, Hawkeye. Hawkeye was.
I liked Hawkeye. Hawkeye was fun.
Kingpin stuff was bad, and he's my favorite.
When I was a boy.
I thought you liked it.
Things age differently.
Wow, we liked it. Okay.
You embarrassed me.
The finale was bad.
Jessica.
The first few episodes were good with him.
Anyway,
Big
you know, before we get into, I want to talk about the Illuminati stuff and, you know, a couple more things. I want to talk about, before we talk about the stuff that we really, really liked, let's talk about the stuff that we hated. Trey, what specifically about Multiverse of Madness did not work for you?
I'll be honest with everyone. I was not sober at this movie, so I liked it all. It was a hoot. I brought vodka in and went to the multiverse myself. So I really liked it. I thought it was. I mean, okay.
So what did Multiversal Trey think of?
I'm getting
What did
movie
he not?
reviews as it was happening. Definitely feel good.
I thought the opening was sick. I was like immediately.
I did too.
This looked great.
I messaged Annie in the middle of it and was like, I know we're still in the middle of it, but holy fuck, dude! Like, it was,
I guess
Keep going.
negatives. The second act was, I guess, probably the worst act. I mean, like the Illuminati stuff. Like I said, I'm on Reddit a lot, so I've been like following up. Like I've been following this movie pretty closely, and like everyone thought Tom Cruise was playing a version of Iron Man in this movie. So I feel like if you were going into this expecting all these cameos, like you definitely would be disappointed by like how quickly they died. We've gone 48 minutes without talking about John Krasinski. I'm sure we'll get to that, but I didn't really have too many negatives. Like I gave it like a solid 4 stars.
You can pass it off to me if you want.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
For me, first of all, the title is Multiverse of Madness. So I'm expecting a lot of multiverse, and we got a montage, pretty cool montage, and then
Like two universes. That's fair.
that look basically the same as Earth, other
Just
than like
Earth with like
red
greens.
means go, and some plants.
Yeah, plant.
That didn't
Plant
look
Earth.
that strange. So 2, and then so the multiverse component was lacking. They didn't really like describe it. I guess that came from other things, but not a lot of multiverse in the Multiverse of Madness.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then I did not I loved the character of America, but I didn't like that it was her introduction and we didn't learn that much about her like as a character, or that's how I felt. Like we got her backstory, but like how do her powers work? She gets scared. Like it's just her. She's scared a lot, and her parents. Like she lost her parents, and I feel like her dynamic with Doctor Strange was not great.
Mhm.
Like I think she vibed better with Wong.
It would be interesting because, like, originally, I think she was supposed to appear in No Way Home. Like, there was concept art of her in No Way Home, and I wonder, like, how we would have felt about her if we were introduced to her in that movie. I don't think it would have been good if she was in that movie because that was already like there were a lot of characters in No Way Home. But yeah,
I actually am kind of the opposite. I think that America. I liked America in this, and I agreed that it was probably you could have done more with her, but like I really liked her dynamic with Steven. I think that was in this a similar way to like I think No Way Home prepares you for kind of Steven looking like to like a younger person like for legacy and somebody to help him find his heart, I guess. So like in that aspect I appreciate it, but I think that her powers were kind of ill-defined and like is she magical, is she not, what is where do her powers come from? And that'll probably be figured out down the line, but like as like kind of an intro, they probably could have done a little bit better. Who has not spoken about what we didn't like? And Ray, why don't you start with what you didn't like?
I specifically America's some of her writing. I think it was more a credit to I don't know how to pronounce the actress's name. I think it's Xochitl Gomez. She did a lot with I think the flattest writing in the movie. Like they gave maybe it's because they didn't know how to write a teenage girl, but she gave her a lot of depth and vulnerability, which I appreciated. But the movie kept kind of wanting to they didn't know whether or not she was going to be a main point of the plot or just like relegated to teenage sidekick land. And I feel like I didn't want to see the same dynamic of Peter Parker and Tony Stark play out again with Doctor Strange and America, which I did feel often in this movie. But I also very much did like the fact that there were parallels to her storyline and Wanda's storyline. They were both motivated by love. They were both motivated by grief. They were both discovering power that was hard for both of them to control, but it presented in Wanda as something that consumed her. It presented in America as something that whose destruction she really couldn't contain, and that often caused chaos in her own life, whereas Wanda's was kind of causing chaos in everybody else's. But they had both survived loss. They were both motivated by love. And again, I think that it was a very interestingly timed movie to focus quite so heavily on a young girl having her bodily autonomy taken away after the news week that we have had. But I think that they could have done more with her. I'm not sure, maybe necessarily the writers. I feel like the writer, and when she gets her Disney Plus show, I feel like we're going to get more women in that writer's room, and I think that she will be much more fleshed out. But I think she was the flattest part of this movie, and the actress, did everything humanly possible to give her more dimension than the script did.
Annie, what do you think? What was the worst part or what was your least favorite part of Multiverse of Madness?
I'm just gonna be echoing everyone else. I totally agree with Reagan with them pushing the Tony and Peter dynamic with America and Steven. But the reason that was effective is because it was drawn out over several movies, and it felt like they were just all of a sudden like, he cares about her, you care about this relationship, deal with it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Not how that works, but whatever. Another thing, it has to do with America. I hated how quickly, like Wanda just completely dehumanized America when they were like, when Wong goes, she's a child, and Wanda goes, no, she's not. I can't remember exactly what she said, but I was like, that's not great. Gosh, what else? I think that was mainly it. Like they could have done so much more for America, and they could have. And I know at the end, like America does like push Wanda into realizing she's known the entire time what she's doing is wrong. But I feel like that could have been more of a moment of like two women coming together and like one younger woman pulling an older woman out of, not older, but like someone who's older than her out of like a very dark.
Right. A significantly older woman, out of.
You know what I mean? You know
I
what
got
meant.
you. I do.
But
I do.
it just, some of those moments fell flat for me.
I understand. Who hasn't talked about what they didn't like? But because I do want to talk about the Illuminati. I know we're the Illumawati. But is there anything else we didn't like before we move into the cameo section, the Illuminati portion?
Oh, I do want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
I love Benedict Wong. He's really funny and he's such a great actor. They need to do better with his character.
And Wong and Morbius show. That's what we need. That's what the people want.
But like
Morbius made $9 billion, guys.
But like, he's the Sorcerer Supreme and he's really powerful and he's a very interesting character in his own right. And I don't like that, for lack of a better phrase, he gets relegated to kind of also being the Tonto to the Doctor Strange's Lone Ranger. I just feel like they have to do better with that, because they make all of those kind of side characters just like Happy was in Iron Man. They're always kind of just like a little stocky and goofy, and like it's the trope is getting worn very thin, and he's so talented. I want to see more done with him.
I agree, and like
I'd love a Wong actual show. No Morbius. I was joking. Like that's the character I would love.
I thought you were serious about the Morbius.
I mean, if we're putting the two best characters in Marvel together, it's Marvel. It's freaking Wong and Morbius, right?
That's true. That's a really
Marvel
good
legend.
point. No, actually, it's whatever Matt Smith's character's name. I've already forgotten his name. So I will say I think there was a lot. I think that like there's a lot of portions of this for me where Wong kind of outshines Steven. Where like he obviously is the Sorcerer Supreme, and like when you first hear that in Spider-Man No Way Home, like what we know about Strange is that he's the Sorcerer Supreme, and so you automatically think of like, okay, well this is just a technicality, but no, like Wong has been doing this way longer than Steven has been doing. Like it's, and that's exactly right, Alden. Trey Mitchell forever will stand.
Yeah, let's talk about Chrysanthemum, Alden.
Let's Chrysanthemum.
How'd that go?
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, I completely understand where everybody is coming from with the things they didn't like, but let's move into something a little bit more exciting. The stuff that we did like, specifically the Illuminati. I think there were a lot of surprises here. Annie, I guess I just want to start with, how do you think, which was the coolest reveal from the Illuminati? And then like and go from there, and we'll discuss who all showed up and all that. But who was your favorite reveal from the Illuminati?
John Krasinski.
There you go. That's the writing.
Like, why do you even ask me?
I just ask you. It's Morbius. Well,
it's Morbius. Yeah.
I say that because, like, there
would have been sick.
He's a doctor.
There is, like, if you had told me, like, a year ago before What If came out, that we're gonna get Peggy Carter as Captain Carter and the Illuminati, that's really cool. But like I asked that because I think we get some really cool versions of characters that we probably wouldn't have gotten in the MCU otherwise. Like, God, they completely redeemed that awful Inhumans show by bringing back Black Bolt, and like he's in his comic accurate suit. He doesn't say a word, and he just like it just works really, really well, way better than anything they ever did in that show. So yeah, I keep
Did
going.
not
So
watch
John
the show.
Krasinski, go
No
ahead.
one watched the show.
Don't-
We went to
don't-
IMAX for one day and no one showed
Okay.
up. It was on ABC.
I mean, I watched most of Agents of Shield, so
Yeah.
I'll watch a lot of stuff. But yeah, I did not watch Inhumans.
I got you. Go ahead.
I mean,
Jason.
you didn't know John Krasinski was showing up. How did you feel when that happened?
Yeah, well, like I had the original Fantastic Four, so I don't read comic books. I'm sorry, guys, but I did have the Fantastic Four, like Jessica Alba on DVD that I used to watch many, many times, and
Same.
so I'm
Same.
familiar with the characters. And Dr. Reed Richards would not he would have a plan. He's
Mhm.
smart, like him. Ultimately being like, Black Bolt's gonna do this, like let's tell her exactly what she needs to do to stop it from happening. So that was his portrayal. I don't know if that was writing or him.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but I thought that I liked Peggy Carter a lot as why am I blanking on
Captain
Captain
Carter.
Carter.
Captain Carter.
There you go.
Thank you. I liked her a lot in it. Like she was pretty badass, although they kind of just gave her a jetpack. But she was good. And then I thought the Captain Marvel was just she was doing like an impression of Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Like it was a bit, I don't know what the adjective I want to use, but it was a bit much, I guess. Like it didn't.
Bombastic.
Yeah, it's Yeroastic,
I talked about it earlier, but like I'm glad with this movie that I knew the cameos because based off of everything that everyone was saying about this movie, I was expecting like 9,000 characters.
Yeah.
Or at least like 10 characters to be in the movie for more than 3 minutes. So the fact that like I saw Spaghetti reading Richards on Twitter before was like that helped me.
So I did see the leak, but like I kind of thought it looked terrible, so I was like, that's not real. And then when it was like actually John Krasinski is Reed Richards, I was like, oh shit, like this is real. Like they actually
he was
did
cool.
it.
I liked him. I think a lot of people hate him on Twitter. Either
Why?
you think he's the best or you hate him.
No, I honestly think of all those quote unquote cameos, and we haven't even talked about Charles Xavier showing up, which I have some the musical note I was talking about earlier. When they played the 90s X-Men theme, I audibly was like, I went by myself to see this movie because like I love seeing movies by myself. And I literally just by myself, like sitting there, I was like, oh.
My theater, and I made a last minute. I was going to see this at Alamo, and then I remembered I saw No Way Home at Alamo, and I was like, this is a golf clap theater, and this is not a golf clap movie. So we saw it at a different theater, and my theater, first of all, when all of those cameos were revealed, everybody just gasped and screamed. But when that musical cue came on, my audience went ballistic, and I was like, I made the best choice. Like everybody was so hype about it
because like we knew it was coming because like they had put it in the trailers and it made like that we knew it was coming, but like having that and then like that as his music just chills. Like it's just
I haven't seen that show, so I zero anything for me with that.
And I watched it
watching Young Justice.
I remember watching it as a kid, but it just like it was just such a cool note to me that it was like, oh, absolutely.
It's grapes, Jerry.
Grapes.
It's grapes.
Incredible. So talking about the Illuminati, I know obviously they pretty much all died, like or at least they look like they all died. It kind of brings me into my point of we know there's a Fantastic Four movie coming down the line. Do we think that the Krasinski reveal is a one-off? Do you think it's something more? And Ray, since you're raising your
Is he
hand,
a
it would be great.
variant?
Sorry, I would
Be
be
a
really
variant, exactly.
if they cop out of that, I will be so pissed. Like I will
Mm-hmm.
be so pissed. And you know what? Maybe he's not the best possible Reed Richards. Like he's a little smug and a little too like cool guy for Reed Richards, who is, I think, was originally in the comics written to be slightly autistic. So he's not supposed to quite have that much of a he's supposed to be have a very, very dry analytical personality. And ignore his wife all the time. But I don't know, like I'm very mentally, like emotionally, I'm very attached to that casting right now. And honestly, if they cast, I love Bryce Dallas Howard and I know she's attached to it in some way, but if it's not Emily
It was a
Blunt,
4chan rumor. I'm deep in Reddit, guys. So
Deep in-
well, I've seen it all
I
over
was
the
there when
place.
it
well,
happened.
Trey is actually QAnon, believe it or not.
But one thing that I
Yeah.
also wanted to mention
Speaking of
that
Illuminati.
I noticed during that death scene, they took great care to make sure that when Wanda is brutally and grisly murdering people, she is never in her Scarlet Witch outfit. And I
Mhm.
think that is because they know psychologically if she was in full costume murdering people like that, however they ultimately plan, and you know that they do because it's a multiverse, however they plan to bring her back as the redeemed Scarlet Witch, I think the audiences wouldn't buy it if they saw her in full costume murdering everyone. So
That line
But
where
she was in the commentage. How do you say that?
Carmitage, yeah, at the beginning.
Okay.
That line that Wanda had where she was like, your kids, is their mother alive? And he was like, yes. And she was like, great, there'll be someone to take care of them after I kill you. I was like, oh shit, that was so cool. That was so badass.
It's so like I have a couple of points. Why bring him if like it was just going to be a one-off? Like he's an incredibly talented director. People have been wanting this for a while. And like this goes into my theory. John Watt just left the Fantastic Four movie. Jack Ryan's season 4 is ending at season 4. John Krasinski suddenly has a lot of time.
Old. Like he's
not that
he's
old.
like 44.
How old was Robert Downey Jr. when he took over for?
I mean, but I'm saying if you're gonna do a 10 years of this, like maybe
He
you
could
cast
do it.
someone that's like 35.
Nah,
But I like John Krasinski.
He wouldn't have to do a lot of like fight choreography.
Yeah,
knowing his powers.
It's a lot of stretching. Like it's just
Effects.
and I mean, honestly, their trainers pump them full of steroids anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
yeah, it's true.
I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is older than that right now. I think he's signed on for at least 7 more years. So,
Geez.
No, he said 10 more years.
I think like
He said he wants to keep making these movies for 10 more years.
I think that Krasinski is going to write and direct, or if he's not directing, he's writing. I think there was a rumor on 4chan, like Trey was saying, or Reddit, that Bryce Dallas Howard is attached in some capacity. Like if she's directing and he's EPing and he's Mr. Fantastic and she's Sue Storm.
No, it has to be Emily Blunt.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I-
Do they
does
have to
it?
be connected?
Bryce,
yes, it does. I will be so
I think
disappointed
Bryce
if
is
it's
more
not
into
Emily
directing
Blunt.
at this point in her career.
I
I feel like the Jurassic Park stuff was like a 3-year contract, a 3-film contract that she signed in like 2014.
does it have to be Emily Blunt? Like I know that
To
like
me, it does.
to me
Yeah,
like
it has
because
to
it is his actual wife. Like
And also, Emily
all
Blunt's
actors.
interviews give so much Andrew Garfield. If you watch them now, when she's just
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, I
Not
I
the
auditioned.
werewolf.
I'll never do another Marvel movie. Not me. Don't know what you're talking about." Like, yeah, exactly.
My initial reaction was when I saw that like Dallas Howard might potentially be might be Sue. Like I was like, yeah, but like the more I think about it, like it doesn't have to just be Emily Blunt just because they're married. Like, and I think going
It does,
into
though,
this,
Bill, I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I think that like if
The
we
chemistry.
okay,
Maybe
I mean,
a
yeah,
Marvel, relationship might actually have chemistry if they cast real married couples.
You want to hear a flaming hot take?
okay, go ahead.
I don't think Fant Four Stick was terrible.
Okay.
I thought the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes were really good, and then it was just fine. It was fine to bad.
Okay, I gotcha. So bring
First
them all.
trailer for that, great.
So let's talk a little bit about casting for Fantastic Four then. You know, we've got R2, we've got John Krasinski and Emily Blunt or Bryce Dallas Howard. Who would you guys love to see as, because Annie and I have talked about this a little bit. Who would you like to see as the Thing, and who would you like to see as Johnny Storm?
The Thing is like I feel like going to be the hardest casting ever because there's just nobody right now. I mean, I know that
The only person that I thought could do it is David Harbour, but we see how
but
that.
we've seen him. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And people are saying Seth Rogen, which I could see it, but I don't.
But then I don't know. I don't love
I
it.
saw one thing. Do any of you guys watch The Umbrella Academy?
Sure do.
I
I
know
saw
what it
something
is.
about the guy who plays Luther as an option. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Name's Tom Hopper.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be
are-
any like
The best thing that I saw was the suggestion of Dr. Montgomery from Stranger Things for Johnny Storm. I think he would
Yeah.
be perfect.
Yeah, he'd be great. I'd love to see a franchise not waste him. Like, I love the Power Rangers movie. Like, I love that Power Rangers movie. The fact that they're not doing
that's a
sequel,
good
that
choice.
freaking kills me.
That's a really good choice. Now that I'm like, oh shit, him. Yeah, absolutely.
Stephen Yeun as Mr. Fantastic. That's my non-Krasinski.
That's good. That's really good.
Give Stephen Yeun the world.
Okay.
I agree.
Minari.
Can I say something? And like, I want to say it, and I
Bill
want to hear
Sheehan
what
as
y'all.
Mr.
Either way.
Fantastic.
I want to hear what y'all say. So, Chris Evans is Johnny Storm again.
With no explanation at all.
None. Like, okay, so let's think about it. If you're gonna have Krasinski, if you're gonna have Blunt, they're early 40s. How old is Chris Evans?
He's
39.
also
He's 40.
He's
Yeah.
the same age.
If you're gonna do that, they're the same age. It would make sense. I say just go ahead and do it. Do a multiverse version of his version of Johnny Storm. And then I like the David Harbour as the Thing casting. I think that works really, really well. But if you're not going to do that, Scotty Jarrow as the Thing would probably be really good too.
I have heard talk that I've heard rumors
Taylor.
also on Reddit that they've cast Terry Crews.
That's not real. I'm on Reddit. I know Reddit.
You mean Terry
Gatekeeping
Crews, our
Reddit.
Annie and
I am
Annie
No,
and
on
no,
myself
no, no.
Undisclosed Reddit.
sitcom father?
No, we're not gonna do. We're not gonna talk
Terry
about that.
Crews is.
But don't they have to be like similar?
The Impractical
in
Jokers.
age?
Yes,
How about we
yes.
just cast? How about we
I
just
want-
cast them as all four?
Absolutely.
I say Joe as Reed Richards,
Uh-huh.
Sal as Sue Storm,
Uh-huh.
Q as the Thing, and Murr as the Human Torch. How about that?
And Dr. Shrimp is the Thing. Dr. Shrimp Puerto Rico as the Thing. I think that works.
He is the
I think
man.
that tracks. I think
He's
that
going
really,
after
really
Jared
works.
Bogdenstug right
It
now.
plays.
Beat him. And Scott, I don't know about Scott Eastwood as
He
Wolverine.
can't act.
Not
Bro is
yeah.
Plank from Ed, and Eddie.
That's-
Okay, this I'm for this.
What is it? Hold on, let me see.
This is why I bought a
Jan-
shirt
yeah.
with your face on it.
He's
so
hairy
good.
enough. He is hairy enough.
He
for
is,
sure.
and he is short and
And
hairy
short.
enough.
Sterling K. Brown as Reed. God damn. We were talking about we can't let Alden on this podcast tonight because he will make
I don't
the
hate
best,
that though.
the
I don't
best
hate that at all.
points.
I
And
also
somehow he
don't
still
hate
came
that.
onto this podcast and made the best points.
The other
Bullshit.
Don't say
casting,
that.
Sterling K. Brown is great. What's the name of the guy from The Good Place?
I thought of him too after that comment.
Well, what is it?
I
It's
don't know his name either. I'll look it up though.
that I've seen that fan cast and I'm like, yeah, he would work. If you're not going to do Krasinski, for me, that's who I would get. And I think
how about Jerry is.
William
Jared- yeah,
Jackson
absolutely.
Harper.
William Jackson Harper, he would be great. Jerry is my Wolverine, believe it or not.
As Reed?
Jerry is actually just have Jerry play all four characters. I want Jerry Cable is Mr. Fantastic. Oh, Alex, why did you say that? That's perfect.
Which
Cillian
one?
Cillian Murphy is Doctor Doom.
Mm,
Oh, that's so
Also,
good.
this is really
We've seen
good.
Bryan Cranston as Doctor Doom too. He's Lex Luthor.
He's more of a Luthor type, but like that Murphy, like I've been watching a lot of Peaky Blinders, and I swear I'm not a douche, but I think that would work really, really well.
My dream casting for Doctor Doom is Fassbender, but it can't be done.
I think that
Perfect.
Important question I have for everyone on this panel right now. Opening night, what are we seeing? Barbie or Oppenheimer? Because I will
Barbie.
judge
Barbie.
you.
this is
Barbie.
hard.
Barbie.
I'm a Barbie girl, so I will say Barbie.
Okay, but I'm a Barbie.
Bill, if you say
Yeah, so we'll see it together. That works. Sounds
Wait,
like we're
Margot
dating.
Robbie's in Barbie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'm seeing Barbie. So I'm seeing a
And
double
Ryan
feature.
Gosling.
I'm seeing Barbie, and then the nightcap is Oppenheimer. The Barbie Oppenheimer double feature, the way Christopher Nolan intended.
No.
Okay.
Eh,
Question
eh,
answered. I respect
eh.
all of you even more now.
Anyway, so I think we're teetering into the end of the show, but I kind of want to talk about. Go ahead.
Do we think Wanda? What do we think her fit in the future is going to be? It was left a little bit ambiguous.
And like I've seen some pictures or video of that, like when the thing comes down on her, like red mist comes out, which might mean that she teleported. Annie, is Wanda Maximoff alive? Is MCU Wanda Maximoff
Is it
alive?
bad that I just like missed that?
That bitch ain't dead.
It was like a millisecond thing.
Jesus Christ. She's too popular and like too good of a character for them to just kill.
I don't agree.
It's just too soon.
There's no
I
way
don't
she's
agree.
dead.
I think that the Wanda, I would bet money on the fact that the Wanda that we get is the Wanda that saves her at the end of this movie. I think that they had to. It's kind of like the Ben Solo thing, where like in order for the character to be redeemed, she had to die in some way. I don't think that Marvel, which is ultimately Disney, I don't think it's a coincidence that Doctor Strange makes the lunchbox joke at the beginning of the movie about getting her back on the lunchbox. I don't think they can have mass murdering Wanda as the redeemed Scarlet Witch, like on the merchandising, but they can bring back another version of her. And I think it has to be the version from the end of this movie, because I think it's going to have to be a version that is aware of the events of this movie and knows what that Wanda sacrificed and went through, because then it would, like, otherwise then Wanda's sacrifice truly is in vain if someone doesn't remember it,
I don't think she's dead at all. Like I think there's no chance.
I feel so. We only saw this once, and I feel bad. But
I would like to
don't-
see it again.
I don't remember. Like I thought she was like just destroying the
Like it falls on her, but there's like a red blink.
Yeah, people are like, is she dead? I was like, I thought she just like got rid of the evil place. Like I missed that completely. So I don't. I
think especially like with her kids probably being part of the MCU going forward, I think she's like definitely alive. And like Alden said, White Vision is out there. Very strange that like we don't even get a mention of that character. Like White Vision. Yeah, White Vision wasn't even like, I don't know. I feel like if the love of your life was like kind of out there, like that would be you would get at least one sentence about them. But I don't know. I do not think she's dead at all though. Like we would have gotten like a big dramatic death if this was actually her death.
I would have noticed it.
But I just don't think this isn't like a Tony death where the character's gone. I think it's just this version of her is dead, but Wanda will be in the. I mean, I'm pretty sure Elizabeth she's signed on. She's got she's only at I think 2 of her new contract, including WandaVision, and she's got a bunch more. So like we'll certainly see Wanda. I just don't think we're going to see any more of this Wanda.
I really like seeing her happy in WandaVision. I would love if she gets an arc where like White Vision comes back and her kids, she's able to like have her kids, because I mean, I think we all went in this movie like not thinking, wow, I want Wanda to have the worst life imaginable. Like, no, she deserves a great life. So I'm hoping that there's some resolution with her and that she gets to enjoy being the Scarlet Witch, and that she has maybe a few years of happiness because she's lost a lot of people in 7 years of being in this franchise.
Mm-hmm. I think that's whatever that the big like event, Avengers Endgame-esque, Secret Wars, whatever it is, her ending is in the same way that Steve Rogers is dancing with Peggy Carter and all that. Wanda will be with her family. That's how this all ends. And I think that's going to be beautiful and wonderful, and I'm excited to see it. What do we think of the post-credit scene?
Yeah, I am curious where
Clea
we are heading to,
and his third eye. The third eye just kind of happens, and then
And are they going to now have it where his now weakness is that music hurts him forever and ever and ever?
Oh God, I don't know if I could do that.
But also, we didn't even talk about Bruce Campbell. I knew he would end up being in here because it was the Sam Raimi
Pizza
movie,
Papa.
Right.
I liked it. I thought that especially his post-credit scene where it was kind of a Ferris Bueller's Day Off where it's over. I thought was great. And traditionally I've always hated, not hated, but I haven't been the biggest fan of having a post-credit scene at the end just to F with people. I think at times it can be shallow. This for me, I have no idea why. I guess it's just because it's Bruce Campbell. I think him doing that after he's been hit, especially, the Evil Dead stuff with his hand in that movie, punching the shit out of him, doing this and saying it's over. It worked for me. But where do we think that him and Clea are going? Where they're going into the dark dimension, obviously. She's the daughter of Dormammu, is that right?
Believe so?
I think so.
So where does Doctor Strange go from here? Where does he go?
The multiverse of sadness.
There you go. That's the answer.
That's the third Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Sadness.
Or he could be gladness. He could be happy about it.
Multiverse of Gladness. I do have culture. Thank you, Alden.
Dormammu's
Dormammu's
end up
niece.
being a love
course.
interest?
I think
she
she is his
Get
wife in comics.
married?
Mm-hmm. At some point, which with the vast cosmos, everything going around.
How about the line
Getting
of
married.
I love you and
She connected to Harry Styles in some way?
How about the line of I love you in every universe? I thought that was a good one.
It was good,
That's
but
like
they had
Christine.
their chemistry was so non-existent. It was just okay, that's. I mean, it was humanized him, sure, and we needed to know that he wasn't a complete self-centered dick. But it was just also okay,
Yeah, I agree that they don't really have chemistry, and it I feel in the first movie, she wasn't really doing much. They weren't really anything, and so all of a sudden it's she's the one regret in his life. I didn't really.
I think she just humanizes him because he's kind of a jerk in a lot of these stories.
It doesn't feel to me a love. She doesn't feel like a love interest. It feels more just a mentee friendship thing.
I gotcha.
Which isn't good. That's not an issue.
So before we end, we haven't really talked about Mordo. Do you think he comes back? Do you think we have a Mordo and Mordo team up? Are the Mordos teaming up in the multiverse of sadness or gladness or whatever? What do y'all think?
Wanda killed him in this movie. They cut that scene, so I don't know what continuity wise they're gonna do with him. But she kills, I believe the John Krasinski universe's Mordo.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. I think that's right. Annie, what do you think?
I have absolutely no clue. I'm just along for the ride. Whatever happens, I'm cool with it.
Awesome. Well, whatever happens, I'm
gonna
cool.
get that tattooed on my butt.
You're welcome.
Oh, you already have it?
Just along for the ride.
Jared talking about, we haven't really talked about Mordo. Bring that comment up, Trey.
Where are we?
The Jared, we haven't really all MCU. Yeah, he does just kind of show up, and it's just like, yeah, he's been killing me in this other universe. We haven't seen it, but he's been trying to kill me. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, y'all?
Well, that is just the thing, that as my final thought, but that we haven't really seen the appropriate face off with them, and I think they're still building to it. They're just not doing a fantastically good job of it right now. But I guess, yeah, my final thought, since I'm already talking, is that I think that more people would have enjoyed this movie if we hadn't created a culture whereby people are going into movies to find things to criticize. People want to,
Or you bring vodka like I did, and it's a hoot.
exactly. But I think
More
that
critics
people,
should bring vodka.
they want to be able to take issue with a big budget kind of corporate film franchise so that they can deconstruct and find everything wrong with it. But at the end of the day, these movies are purely entertainment, and they are meant for you to come and like enjoy them. And if you're very lucky, you get a movie like this one that also has a whole element that really makes you kind of think and contemplate and educates you a lot about the whole process of grieving. But I've yet to see, I've seen valid criticisms of the movie, but I have seen absolutely no valid hate whatsoever. And incidentally, I said this on TikTok, I want to say this again, that Xochitl Gomez had to make a statement to the people who were really angry that her character had two moms, that she had to go out of her way to do that in the year of our Lord Betty White 2022 is so ridiculous. And with absolutely no respect whatsoever, I say with my entire chest, go fuck yourself. The world has moved on without you, and it's really tired already.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Jess, final thoughts before we wrap up.
I don't know. I don't have any. I guess I'm just excited, to see where we're going. I think now we are quick to just like with the post-credit scenes and stuff, and like I know I am guilty of this, I guess, like to just be okay, where are we going to next? Who's the next villain? What is the next thing? And it's like we have had a lot of things in phase 4, is it? And we still don't really have like the post-credit scene that tells us that it's Thanos, like it's not as direct. So I guess for me, I'm just gonna try to just take it all in and just see what's happening and judge each thing on its own individual basis, and then eventually we'll get to where we're going, I assume. And but yeah, I enjoyed this movie, and yeah, I liked it. And
You give it what, like 4 stars? Would that go down to 3.5 after thinking about it, or
How many
I think I gave it
Morbiuses would you give it?
4. I think it's in like the top. I think it's like number 12 for me in the MCU,
it's 11 for
Okay.
me? So nice.
not including TV shows. I don't
Oh,
rank
I
them.
do have good TV shows.
So yeah, ultimately, I think it'll be up there. I've only seen it once, so
Yeah,
Awesome. Trey,
Maybe
what about
it'll-
you?
I had a good time at this movie.
Was it the vodka or was it the movie?
It was really Sam Raimi,
There it
but
is. It's the same
no,
way.
I guess I kind of just go into the Doctor Strange movies just wanting to like see cool visuals and like trippy stuff, because like that's what Doctor Strange is. And I think it's kind of cool that like the overlying theme of this phase 4 of Marvel is like self-love, and that like you are the only one who can like Wanda in the story. Who's the person who saves Wanda? Wanda. Like you have Spider-Man No Way Home. Like who's the person that can help Peter come out of this tragedy where he loses Aunt May? Other Peter Parkers. Moon Knight. Yeah, Moon Knight. Loki. Even like Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi at the end of that movie like has to come to terms that he needs to stop running away from his family and accept who he is. Like I kind of like that this theme is about self-care and self-love for phase 4. And I feel like that was another theme of this movie, at least with Wanda. Not too much with Strange. I still don't feel like this Doctor Strange is a character that I really connect with. I I just feel like he's still pretty arrogant, and I definitely wouldn't say he's one of my favorite MCU characters, but Wanda juxtaposed to him, I love everything that Wanda's been in the MCU. I loved her in Age of Ultron. I love when her accent just goes away for 2 movies and then just comes back. It's my favorite thing.
In this movie, we actually got to see her like full powers because she got to like.
She's the most powerful character
Because I
in the
feel
universe.
like in the past, she would just move things with her mind, and it's like now she actually got to do cool stuff, even though she was a villain, but it's still cool.
Yeah, turning friggin' John Krasinski's Reed Richards into spaghetti was not on my 2022 bucket list.
Just like my grandmama.
John Krasinski spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Knees weak, arms are heavy.
Annie, final thoughts on Multiverse of Madness or Mom, as
Lord.
the kids
Mother's
would
Day
say.
movie.
It's
It's a
not
big-
really like
I'm gonna go take our mother to see Multiverse of Madness in the next few days.
Shout
so
out Leanne's.
Are
shout
you
out
sure
to
that's
Leanne.
a good idea?
Well, fine. I told her already, and she said, "Oh, that'll be fine."
What?
Yeah.
My final thoughts aren't really on the movie, this specific movie, but just this phase in general. I think people are just gonna have to get used to the fact that these movies are making them think about things now, and they're not really pulling their punches as far as like the themes. Like WandaVision was about grief, like Loki is about the self and like dealing with how you feel about the different versions of yourselves that you are, and like it's more like complex, and people are actually going to have to use their brains and analyze
Or their
a
minds.
shut up, or analyze a piece of media in a real and meaningful way. And I say that as a theater person, so sorry, it's a little pretentious, but get ready for people who don't know what they're talking about on Twitter to say stupid shit.
Dr.
That's-
Shrimp fights them.
Doctor, I've heard of him.
Annie doesn't know what we're talking
That's
about, but
Marvel.
Dr. Shrimp.
Marvel Phase 6 is.
Is Dr. Shrimp. Dr. Shrimp. And with that, my dear friends, that is our Multiverse of Madness episode. I want to thank all of my dear friends, my co-host, my sister, for coming on and giving their thoughts and opinions on Multiverse of Madness. Jess and Trey, where can the people find you?
Good.
You can find me on Twitter if you want to.
Where? That's the question.
Where at on Twitter? just put Jess
No.
in and you'll find
Jess or
her.
Find
Dr.
me
Shrimp.
if you want.
It's in
It's
the
a
show notes.
challenge.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. You can find me at Star Wars Celebration with a certain redhead in this stream.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
belligerently wandering the show floor, asking for autographs of random people. So, or on Twitter.
And giving autographs, frankly.
Yeah, we were live when I showed this, but I just bought a shirt actually, and I'm really excited. I'm hoping it comes in before Star Wars Celebration. It is my good friends Jerry and Scotty. Stay Bombad. Immediately after the stream, I am playing Switch Sports with Scotty. You can find him at the Bombad Cast on YouTube. He and Jerry, but he's playing Switch Sports with I think our friend Michael,
Awesome.
also known
Stay
as
Bombad.
yeah. So yeah,
Doing more advertising for them.
yeah.
Stay
They are
Bombad is actually what I have tattooed on my crotch. Reagan, where can they find you?
One of the few
If
things.
I want to talk to you, I will find you, but you can find me somewhere in Bensonhurst eating Reed Richards spaghetti because I'm a bad stereotype.
Oh,
Spaghetti and grapes.
she wanted all. Give me all that spaghetti.
My
Annie,
vote.
where can the people find you?
They can find me anywhere they want to find me, but it will be at Ashihi98 on literally every platform. So,
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. I love y'all very, very much. You guys can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. If you're not already, follow Skywalking Through the League on Twitter at SkywalkingTL.
And we will post a bunch of links for you after this stream with voting resources and other things that you need to
Absolutely.
get involved and active.
Absolutely. And this is the first time I've ever said this on the show, but abortion is healthcare and Godspeed, rebels.